Welcome everyone, this is Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter and that is Connor, and we are going to talk about the first episode of a new original series from Crackle. It's called StartUp. The first episode is called Genesis, and we are going to start spoiler free because it's the first episode. Usually we go full spoilers, but when we have a pilot at the first episode, we like to, start a little bit spoiler free so you can get a sense of if it's something you would like to watch rather than just spoiling it right out. So you'll be given warning. And this is a binge watch situation. All 10 episodes of this season went up today on Crackle, so you can head over there and check them out if you want to. So it's easy enough to do. Connor, what did you think of StartUp?
I liked it and I didn't like it. I'm a little torn.
Okay, I'm kind of there with you. I think there's good elements of it. I think there's moments where the direction is very good.
Yeah.
One, and I've not learned any character names yet, so I apologise if we're just being descriptive of everyone. But we'll call the gangster character the one who sort of like runs the crew and all that, and he has like a higher boss that he talks to. But when he gets up for breakfast, and he sees his son, he sees his wife, and it's not a oneer. There's cuts, but it's done in all real time. Well, there's no just cutting to the location, so you see him continuously walk out of his house with his friend or his co-gangster. What's the correct term?
Colleague.
Colleague, yes. Colleague.
Give him the professional respect he deserves.
Yes. And you see them walk down the street and they go to like another building where they're holding some guy captive that they want to question. And it's all done in real time. There's no like jump cutting going on. And I like that. That was done really well.
It feels good.
So to sum up the plot, actually, we should probably give a general sense of what the thing's about. So we've got four main characters. We have the gangster character. We have the dude from the OC who's got a sort of boring, like office job type thing. We have an Hispanic girl who is into computers and is developing a digital currency that theoretically would replace actual money someday.
Yeah.
And we have Martin Freeman's character, who's the only actor I know in this. He is an FBI agent who is corrupt. And that's not a spoiler, that's like the opening scene. He's like trying to extort someone for money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the setup. And they all start separately, but then they all sort of come together. Because Martin Freeman's extorting from the OC guy's dad. And
who is a gangster of a sort of his own, right? Because he has a lot of shady money.
Yeah, he's like a money launderer or something like that. Yeah.
But he's got what, $2 million or something that is acquired illegally that he passes on to the son.
Yes, he passes it on to the son to get rid of it and away from him. And the son who meets the girl who's like developing this currency, and you can see he's frustrated with his job and he wants to actually do something that will make a difference. So he decides to use this money with her to start up, hence the title of the show, this new currency system, or at least try to start the new currency system. And things kind of like overlap or start to connect as we go through the episode. My complaints though would be it's really trying to be edgy. Like, it's trying its hardest to feel like it's got like an edge to it, and mainly in two ways.
One of them is so blaringly in your face.
The sex scenes.
Yeah, I've never seen an episode of TV with so many sex scenes, and that includes Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there was, I believe, 4 sex scenes in this episode. Now, the funny thing is that this show has lots of swearing in it, and it has potentially violence. There is some violence, I suppose, but I'm sure they could go even further with the violence in this.
It feels like they will.
And the sex scenes feel very gratuitous without actually showing any like body parts, which is kind of weird.
I think it's just the fact that they actually go on for quite a while.
They do. There's a lot of like, it's one of those shows where you'll feel that the need to maybe turn down the volume if you think someone can hear what you're watching, because there's a lot of moaning and
I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, lots of shows do it, but it feels like there was no need for quite this much.
Yeah, I don't care either, but you know what I mean. Like, if you're in a place where someone might overhear what you're listening to, they might start to think you're watching something different because there's just so much of it.
There's that much, yeah.
Yeah. So that was one issue I had. I think another issue I had was that I feel like they could make the actual plot a little bit more interesting. I think it's very well directed, but I don't know if I actually care about what any of the characters are doing yet.
I agree with that, but I'm not sure I have that as a complaint either.
Go on.
Because I think nothing really develops beyond the initial premise, which is because it's a first episode, sure, but it's very slow moving, even for it being a first episode. I feel that's probably because it's a binge watch thing. We've spoke about this. I think it's when we did our Stranger Things review. We spoke about how it was so excellently paced, despite knowing it was going to be a binge. Whereas this feels like they've kind of made things slower because they expect people to watch it, not weekly.
It feels like the pacing of like one of the other Netflix shows rather than Stranger Things. It feels like they're expecting you to watch the next episode, but then you have to give me a reason to watch episode 2. And there's a cliffhanger at the end of this. Sure, there's a cliffhanger, and maybe that would make me want to watch the next one. But if the episode's not engaging enough, I might not watch episode 2. So
it is that thing where they're just expecting you to watch another, that they feel like they don't need to try too hard.
That's why they put the automatic timer on at the end to play the next episode, because they're hoping you I won't get up. I can't be arsed. I'll stay down. It's fine.
I bet it works.
It probably does for a lot of people. I'm pretty sure that is how I watched season 1 of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I kept not stopping it. It just kept happening.
It happened to me a lot. I remember that I was doing some work while I was doing it, and it just kind of was on the other screen. It just kept going, and then it was all over in one sitting. Yeah, no, I feel like that while it is a complaint that this episode is quite slow, and like you said, the plot doesn't give you much, I don't know if that's going to be a bad thing for the show overall, or if it is paced okay if you watch more, but just individually they're paced badly.
That's possible. Yeah. Like you said, I'm kind of conflicted on it. There was definitely good elements in there. Like, I can't completely write it off, but at the same time, it wasn't exactly like. I don't know.
It's definitely not something you'd say is bad, though.
No, I'm not feeling the characters yet. I think it's my problem.
No, I get that. I get that a lot. I think
the gangster character is probably the one that I find the most interesting, and once we go into spoilers, which we'll do in a minute, I'll explain why I think that.
Okay, I think the biggest flaw is actually that they've, especially in this first episode at least, is that they've put a lot into Martin Freeman's character. They expect him to be the hook, I think. Which is why I feel like they've tried to, like, the opening scene is based on him, and then he has kind of a lot of the key scenes throughout. But he's not necessarily the most interesting character. He's kind of just there, like you're expected to.
That's true. The scene where he goes to see his wife or his ex-wife, it's hard to say if they've actually split up yet, but they're in the process at least of splitting up. That scene felt completely just.
It didn't connect with anyone else, whereas everything else you can kind of see how it plays in.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I get if you're introducing new characters, and it's a first episode, so everyone's been introduced. You want to give like a little bit of who they are and where they're coming from. But that scene in itself just felt really tacked on. It felt very like that was a waste of like 4 minutes.
Because the others all had it. Because the hacker girl had the stuff with the kind of boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
The gangster guy had the stuff with the in his house, the wife and kids. And then the other guy had the stuff with his dad. Yeah, had the stuff with his dad.
Yeah, well, not just his dad, but he also had the stuff with his wife and his father-in-law. So you got a sense of character, and that was fine because that was motivation. You could see he was frustrated because his father-in-law seemed to be judging him very subtly. Like, why haven't you made more of yourself? And he wants to prove himself and do more. And so there was some character motivation set up. The computer girl, though, I have to say, felt a little bit one note, mainly just because it was just a case of like when she goes to her parents and they're like, "Oh, you've been doing this since you were 7 or whatever, and you've been this genius all your life." She didn't really feel like she had much depth. It just felt like she had this one thing she was obsessed with, and there wasn't really.
Yeah, which is kind of why I'm hoping that now that's kind of out in the open. Like, she's got her startup money. maybe she can develop a bit now that she can actually do something.
Maybe. So I think what we'll do now is we will go over into spoilers, so we can talk about some story points. So if you haven't watched the episode yet and you don't want spoiled, then by all means go away and watch it and possibly come back and see what we thought of the plot points. So full spoilers from this point on for StartUp, episode 1. So, yeah, the gangster I actually thought was the most interesting. Actually, one side note before I get to that. His son was playing Uncharted 3 on the TV, and he mentioned he only got it a week ago, and I thought, that's a bit odd. I mean, Uncharted 4's out. He's playing an old game. Not a big deal.
I think
noticed it.
I think no, I think that's very intentional.
You do?
I think it's very much intended to show that even though he is this like gangster, he's not just loaded with cash. He's still playing older, cheaper games. He's
You,
not up to date.
okay, they had a pretty big TV though, so
Yeah, but I don't think that's as big a thing as saying having a PS4 now.
well, it was a PS4 he was playing it on.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Well, still, that's still a lot of a cheaper game, though, isn't it?
I'm really surprised that you didn't notice that because I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I always notice. See, whenever they're playing video games, I always notice what controller it is.
Normally I do, but I'm quite tired today. I'll be honest.
Okay,
That I overlooked a controller.
all right, fair enough. So yeah, so it follows him to this guy they've got captive because someone in their crew has been shot, and he's questioning this guy, and the guy eventually gives him the information. And he then says, right, make sure he gets back to his like side of the city or whatever,
Mm.
unharmed, and blah 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 blah. And like the other guys are like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah, everyone just wants to kill him.
yeah, they all take out their guns, they want to kill him, and he's like, no, we're doing this properly. He gave us information. He didn't shoot anyone. We know who did. And then he walks out, and then you hear a gunshot. Anyway, they outright just ignore him and do it anyway. And I thought that was interesting because much like the OC guy, it kind of felt like maybe he wanted to, do more with himself.
Yeah, or at least he has some sort of code of honor.
Yeah, there was a code of honor
It's the
there.
idea that he gave up the information on the idea that he'd get to live in exchange, and he wanted to respect that bargain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree he was the most interesting.
Um, and so it seems that the OC guy's dad actually took his money. It's his $2 million that he had,
Yeah.
and he's fled, and he was under the impression, gangster guy was under the impression that he had a bank account at the bank that OC Dad's worked at, and
We really need to learn some character names.
we really do. But I think his name might have been Nick actually, the OC guy.
The OC guy, Nick.
I think it was Nick.
I think it was. You're right,
Okay,
Nick.
cool. I learned one name. Yeah, so Nick's dad is fled, and the gangster guy goes to his bank and is like, right, I opened an account last week or whatever, and he's like, and the person at the bank's like, all right, what's your name? Looks it up. There's no record of an account in your name, and you can tell he's livid. So
Yeah, he looks pissed.
yeah, he does. I'm not sure if you can hear that car alarm.
We can.
Oh, you can. Okay, good. Apologies, folks. So anything else you would like to touch on?
No, not in particular. I do think there's some interesting ideas. I think it could be harmful for the show's future having such an idea that's so very of its time, like cryptocurrency. It's so kind of now that it feels like given even by the time a season 2 would come around, it might feel rather dated.
It was funny actually because when the computer girl went to like pitch her idea to Nick's company for an investment, she brought up the example of how movie studios used to fear digital, and now they're getting their asses kicked by Netflix and YouTube and stuff like that. And I thought that was very witty and on the nose, given that this is an original series from a online service.
Yes, that felt very intentional.
Although the amusing part is it's an online service owned by Sony, who are one of said studios who probably were fighting the digital revolution. So
Probably still are in some ways.
yeah, probably. Yeah, that was funny. But we have to make a decision, Connor. We have to
Okay.
decide if we're watching more of this.
If this was weekly, I'd say absolutely not. It's way too slow for me to care about weekly. But with it being all there, Maybe.
Maybe. Um, I'm inclined to say no. And I think that the reason why I'm inclined to say no is because we are about to have so many shows fall on us
Yeah,
that I think our standard for continuing one has to just be a little bit higher.
I agree.
So, under had this been the start of the summer, we probably would have given this a few more episodes.
Yeah.
But I think here and now, when the September, you know,
Onslaught.
onslaught is about to hit us, and it is an onslaught. We have so many first episodes we're covering over the next month and a half, 2 months, as well as all the returning shows. That I think one episode of this was enough for me just now.
Nah, I get it. Like I said, if this was weekly like everything else, it would be an instant no.
Yeah,
It's only the fact that it's all there that even makes me consider watching more, which really isn't a sign of confidence.
no, it's not. It's not. I mean, a good show should be
I want
enticing.
this anytime,
Yeah,
right? But I need it.
yeah.
This, just, nah, not that bothered.
So, but it's not terrible though. I highly recommend you check it out for yourself and see if you're interested in continuing it. There is some elements of it that are actually quite good. It's just I think they're trying to be edgy with both the sex and the some of the swearing felt a bit like they were just doing it because they could, and it in the same way they kept bringing up a lot of like technical stuff, like the computer girl like bringing up Bitcoin and like they were trying to do almost the like the Mr. Robot thing of like mentioning a bunch of
Yeah, but
stuff.
but not quite hitting it right.
Yeah, it felt a bit more hollow.
Also, mind Freeman with an American accent will never sit right with me.
Unless it's Fargo season 1, because then the accent is so weird that it's okay.
So I don't know. Even from what I've seen in that, it does. It's still it's something that you notice at all times for me.
Okay, I will give you that, but still, at least the Minnesota accent is so like an extreme thing that everyone looks silly doing it. No offense to Minnesotans.
I get you. With this, it's possibly weirder in the sense that it seems more unnatural for him.
Yeah, I can get that.
I don't
But
know.
possibly will be topped by Benedict Cumberbatch come Doctor Strange in a couple of
Not
months.
not not feeling that accent
Yeah.
either.
So thanks very much, guys. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the first episode of Crackle, or indeed the whole season if you watched it
Start
all.
up, not crackle.
Sorry, StartUp. I was doing that before we started recording as well. I kept calling the show Crackle. Crackle's the service it's on. StartUp is the name of the show. I do apologise. For some reason, my mind is interchanging them. But yeah, let us know what you thought. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. It always helps us out. Like I say, we've got a bunch of stuff coming over the next couple of months. I'm not going to list them, but just it's a lot.
Yeah, too
So
much.
yeah, thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you next time.